Okay, so today I want to talk about some really bad Wikipedia articles. Um, this might be the start of a new series. We'll see how this goes. But yeah, Wikipedia is filled with bogus, pseudoscientific articles, which try to espouse racial superiority. I mean, like, that's just some of the bad articles. There's many, many bad articles on Wikipedia, and this is one of them. This is called Ashkenazi Jewish intelligence, and as the name would imply, it is literally trying to advocate for the superiority of one race over another. Literally, the definition of racism. Um, yeah, it's trying to say Ashkenazi Jews are more intelligent than other races. Now they equivocate ethnicity and race. This is actually worth discussing in another video. The difference between race and ethnicity is basically non-existent, at least in terms of how the word is used when talking about Jewish people. Long story short, Jewish people or Jewishness or Judaism is not an ethnicity. Okay, you can be black and Jewish, you can be Indian and Jewish. They are no less Jewish than white Jews are. But anyway, so this article is trying to advocate that Jewish people are superior, or the superior race. So let's read a little bit of it. Whether Ashkenazi Jews have higher intelligence than other ethnic groups, and if so, why, has been an occasional subject of scientific controversy. So, like the lead is usually the most important part of an article, and it's the most telling. Like it's an odd way of justifying the article. So this article has been brought up for deletion several times, which I'll get into later, and it introduces the topic as a question. And that is the oldest trick in the book. Introduce the topic as a question and then talk about how the question is a fact. And that's what this article tries to do. Studies have generally found that Ashkenazi Jews to have a higher than average intelligent quotient in the range of 107 to 115. And Ashkenazi Jews as a group have had success in intellectual fields far out of proportion to their numbers. That means even though there's so few Jews, they're all brainiacs and they're all superior to other races. A 2005 scientific paper, Natural History of Ashkenazi Intelligence, found that Ashkenazi Jews demonstrate significantly higher verbal and mathematical intelligence and somewhat lower visuospatial intelligence. What the fuck does that even mean? I don't even know what visuospatial intelligence means. Than other ethnic groups. The proposed inherited components of which they attribute to the peculiar situation of Ashkenazi Jews in the Middle Ages, selecting for high intelligence despite its related inherited diseases. Other proponents of hereditary hypotheses suggest that persecutions of European Jews may have fallen disproportionately on people of lower intelligence. Unbelievable. So wait a minute, what is this saying? Persecution of European Jews may have fallen disproportionately on people of lower intelligence. So what that's saying that Europeans killed more dumb Jews than smart Jews? Is that what they're trying to say? Holy shit. This is Nazi science, ladies and gentlemen. It's kind of astounding how the people who try to advance this pseudoscientific notion of Jewish Ashkenazi Jews being superior, being the superior race, they have adopted literal Nazi science, where they're trying to say that, hey, we are God's chosen people, which, by the way, is part of Judaism. Judaism is an inherently racist religion that espouses racial superiority. Jews are God's chosen people. That's messed up. All right, and that deserves to be criticized. Now, I want to make it clear that even though I am criticizing aspects of Judaism and this racist idea of Ashkenazi Jews being superior, that does not therefore imply that I am anti Semitic, what people call anti Semitic, which, by the way, is a misnomer anyway. It really should be just called anti Jewishness, which is a bias against Jews. I absolutely have nothing against Jewish people as a group. And there are lots, I shouldn't say there are lots, but there are Jews who criticize, lambast this notion, this Nazi science of Ashkenazi Jews being superior, being a superior race. Um, Similarly, there are people who call themselves, Jewish, but they're not Jewish. They're not religious. I have criticisms of that too, but they would lambast the teachings of Judaism as much as any other religion, because and Jews have been a historically oppressed group throughout history, countless times. However, that doesn't mean that the religion is immune to criticism, and that doesn't mean that uh, Jewish supremacists are immune to criticism either. So let's go further into this. Um, Conversely, others suggest that a congenital illness may be explained in terms of the founder effect. So the founder effect is, I don't really want to get into that just yet, but that's like an evolutionary science kind of thing. Again, this goes into Nazi science, where they're trying to explain, the superiority of their people over other races using evolution. They're co-opting evolution to further their motives. Furthermore, some hypothesize that the disproportionate successes of the Ashkenazi Jews may be explained not solely by their high average intelligence, but also high general factor of personality, GFP. Socially, positive aspects of the Big Five personality traits, as well as positive ethnocentrism. Intellectual successes have also been attributed to Jewish culture's promotion of scholarship and learning. Can you believe this shit? This is a Wikipedia article that is espousing the superiority of Jewish culture, which is a racist thing to say. Hey, look, our culture is superior. We promote scholarship and learning. And I don't even know what the fuck this is. Positive ethnocentrism. What the fuck does that mean? Isn't that a euphemism for Nazi shit? Saying that their ethnocentric values of trying to preserve racial purity are positive? Wow. Big Five personality traits. I don't even know what the fuck that is. I don't even know what the fuck that is. It's not important. This is Nazi science. This is Nazi science. Um, so here, I'm not going to get into all of this shit because this is really not important. This is technobabble, essentially. It's trying to babble and, um, trying to make the claim that Jewish people are superior. Well, I should say specifically Ashkenazi Jews are superior to other races. And for those of you who don't know, Ashkenazi Jews are basically just German Jews, so Jews that come from Germany. And even among different uh, Jewish groups, and I'll use the word ethnicity here, different ethnic Jewish groups, like for example Ashkenazi Jews, and then they have Sephardic Jews and Mizrahi Jews. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, and I don't care. Um, so they're trying to say that Ashkenazi Jews are even superior to other Jewish groups. And this is important to Zionism and the state of Israel because Ashkenazi Jews want to maintain a social hierarchy similar to what happens in America, where you have whites at the top. In Israel, they do that too. It is a white supremacist state, and whites are always at the top, but specifically they want Ashkenazi Jews to be solely at the top. And other Jews, including black Jews and Indian Jews, and other Jews as well, Sephardic Jews, Mizrahi Jews, they're all lower on the social hierarchy. Why? Because they want to consolidate power. They want to be the ones controlling everything. Um, and then like it just goes on, and it says proposed genetic explanations, and this is some of the dumbest shit I have ever read in my life. And it's astounding that this is on a Wikipedia article. This is on a Wikipedia article trying to talk about, science and logic and presenting facts and avoiding falsehoods, and especially avoiding the espousal of racial superiority. Um, Today's Ashkenazi Jews have higher than average mathematical and verbal IQ. Do I even need to explain the bullshittiness of IQ? IQ only tests how well you do an IQ test. That's it. Um, From 800 to 1650, Ashkenazi Jews in Europe were a mostly isolated genetic group. When Ashkenazi Jews married non-Jews, they usually left the Jewish community. Few non-Jews married into the Jewish community? Really? Is that so? Well, then how is it that they transformed from brown to white then? If if this is true, and few non-Jews married into the Jewish community, how did they transform from brown to white? Because the one thing that Jewish people espouse, white Jews, is that they are descended from ancient Israelites. I got news for you. Ancient Israelites were brown. They were brown people. And if it is true that they migrated from ancient Israel to Europe, then how did they transform from brown to white if they didn't marry outside of their own race? That's a contradiction. Of course, that brings up the interesting hypothesis that they aren't descended from ancient Israelites, which, by the way, there is absolutely no scientific evidence for that. There's none. There's no evidence that they descended from ancient Israelites. But they're the ones who want to say that they are. So that's a contradiction as far as I'm concerned. Okay, during the same period, laws barred Ashkenazi Jews from most jobs, including farming and crafts, and forced them into finance, management, and international trade. That's a contradiction right there. It's saying laws barred Jews from most jobs, and then it talks about how they got Jews doing finance, management, and international trade. If it barred you from jobs, then how did you get jobs in finance, management, and international trade? What a fucking these morons don't even know what they're writing. They don't even know what they're writing. Wealthy Jews had several more children per family than poor Jews. Again, that doesn't make sense. Okay, what we observe in today's society is that poor people have more children than rich people. As people or I shouldn't even say rich people, they just into middle class. As people financially grow into middle class, they have fewer children. People who are poor, just look at India. They have, I know that in my family history, my parents were born into large families because they came from poor families. So in India and in other underdeveloped poor countries, yeah, their families are going to necessarily be larger because there's actually reasons for that um, that I can go into in another video. But for now, I mean, it doesn't take a brain surgeon to observe that fact. So that's already not true. Um, so genes for cognitive traits such as verbal and mathematical talent, which makes a person successful in the few fields where Jews could work, makes no damn sense, were favored. See, this is like a rationalization of what they're trying to prove. It is a post hoc rationalization, trying to say, and then later on, they're talking about how, in number 4, they're trying to say how Tay-Sachs makes people smarter, which is just such bullshit. I don't even know where to begin with some of this stuff. This stuff is patently racist. It's patently absurd. Trying to espouse racial superiority because of how of a race on a Wikipedia article, and then just giving a laundry list for how they're superior. It makes me sick. Now, this was brought up a couple of times for deletion. This, I think, is the most. So this was brought up for deletion several times. In fact, if I just go here and then we go to the talk page. Okay, see, look. Here are all the deletion things. So it was brought up for some kind of issue of deletion 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. 7 times. And it kept on being kept. We're not going to go through every single deletion review, but let's go through the earliest one that we can review, this one right here. So this is the earliest one, and this guy correctly points out that this article is unwiki nature and unscientific. And yeah, it is. It is unscientific. They're essentially trying to assert that one race is superior to another. It's an inherently racist article. Why if you're gonna support this, then why not have an article about white people being superior to black people? Why not have an article about that? I mean, you could say like the biggest argument in favor for keeping this article is that it's backed up by citations. People have talked about it. Well, so what? People have talked about how white people are superior to black people too, and there's papers written about that. Are we? But then does that mean there should be an article talking about how white people are superior to black people? No, because that's an inherently racist pseudoscientific article. By making the article, you are implicitly supporting the hypothesis, which is complete bullshit. So some people recognize that this is bullshit. This guy says reasonably coherent article. I disagree with that. Plenty of references. So I talked about how references by itself does not mean that it's okay. The article is inherently unneutral in nature. Yeah, you got that right. It's trying to say one race is superior to another. Article inherently POV. Maybe merge it back into Ashkenazi Jews. So this guy is trying to say keep well referenced, even though it's fringe. Yes, so we can well reference whites being superior to black people. It's well documented on the interwebs. Would suggest instead of deleting it, outhand reference counterpoint arguments. See, that is the oldest trick in the book. You first say all the things that you want to say, and then you have like a little footnote section talking about how it's wrong. But then the vast majority of your article and the fact that the article exists is in favor for the hypothesis. It's inherently biased. This guy This guy points out it's well documented that African Americans have higher crime rate than other Americans. We then say it's equivalent to okay to make an argument called African American predisposition to crime, which is the same point. Like the crime rates are biased inherently. That this guy really should have clarified that. I think his intentions were good, but the cops are biased. They're racist, so they disproportionately target black people for drug related offenses. Furthermore, black people are disproportionately poor, and there's a positive correlation between poverty and crime, which is why they will be overrepresented in crime statistics proportionate to their population. Has nothing to do with an intrinsic nature of them being an inferior or inherently more violent or crime prone race. It's complete bullshit. And that guy really should have clarified that. Um, so most of these comments are making the point that I made. This guy's saying delete race and intelligence covers this subject without the implied racism. Yeah, it's implied racism. It's covered elsewhere. Um, and then you got this idiot. However, the page is very POV and needs to be improved. I am the one who started this page. No shit. It is a coherent idea, but it just happens to be wrong. Then why are you covering it? And look at the name, Metzenberg. I wonder if he's Jewish or not. You think there might be bias there when someone's trying to say, "Oh no, yeah, it's wrong, but let's cover it anyway," to imply that it's true. Yeah, this is bullshit. So the consensus was delete. um, I mean, there were many deletes, but there were also there were lots of people saying keep. Uh, Basically, people who advocated for racial superiority got their friends to come on board and vote keep. And so the moderator said no consensus, even though it was clearly unscientific and should have been deleted. So let me go to the latest one. So this is the latest proposal for deletion. And as you can see, it was capped, obviously, because we're still talking about it. So the person who nominated this, it's kind of hard to read this because it's just a whole big fucking mess. Wikipedia is garbage. I guess the person who nominated the article is saying this is a controversial claim and the scientific evidence is also non-supportive. That should be it. Okay, you should not have an article just based upon something that's controversial, especially when it's something that's espousing one race is superior to another. That is such bullshit. And then you have like a bunch of the people who are upkeeping, who are following this article at this point, are all a bunch of Jewish supremacists. So this is the guy So look, the guy who created the article, M. Shabazz, remember when we talked about him? There he is. M. Shabazz. Here he is again. Silly theory, in my opinion. Not that anybody asked. See, he's trying to do a little. He's trying to do some fake self-effacement. Um, you're the one who created the article, you biased piece of shit. But an abundance of reliable sources established that it's a notable subject for an encyclopedia article. No, you made the article, you fucking idiot. You're so full of shit. Let's look at some of these other keep votes. This topic is notable. Jeez, good argument. Yes, it's scientifically impossible for this to be true. That doesn't mean the article should be deleted. What kind of fucking bullshit is this? You're saying the article is scientifically impossible, but it's espousing that it is true. Unbelievable. Keep unless we're going to delete such articles as Jewish knows. That's a two wrongs make a right fallacy. Jewish knows. I didn't even know this article existed. What the fuck kind of? Can you? That's a good article for another. That's another article for another bad Wikipedia articles video. Um, let's look at the longest one here. Speedy keep with a massive gefilte fish. Gefilte fish. I think that's like a gefilte fish slap. What? That I think that's a reference to Rush Hour. Um, is he? I think the point of that was to be like sardonic because he thinks he's clever. This is the sixth nomination of this article, and consensus is rather clear that the subject is notable based upon the ample, reliable, and verifiable sources that are explicitly about the topic and would have been discovered if the nominator had either done due diligence required by, then they cite this bullshit Wikipedia um, rule, or had bothered to read the article. Oh, believe me, I read the article. I don't believe in the existence of gray aliens, black helicopters, or President Donald Trump. Is that supposed to be a joke? But the preponderance of sources on these topics is what establishes notability in the continued existence of those articles. Okay, so that's a fallacy. All right, that's a fallacy because we can find sources for black people being dumber than white people. There are plenty of people who talked about that. That doesn't mean we should have an article talking about how whites are superior to black people because the existence of the article implies that as such. That's the problem, is that you're trying to cherry pick rules that Wikipedia has. Yes, I agree. Certain articles should have articles because gray aliens, black helicopters, those are fine because they're not espousing racial superiority. This is one of those things that is patently obvious, but you're trying to wiki lawyer and and subvert the rules in order to push your agenda. Okay, yes, black helicopters should have an article about it, not an article that espouses that Jewish people are superior to other races. You fucking idiot. Uh, The nominator's excuses for deletion, that this is a controversial claim and the scientific evidence is non-supportive, are all efforts at establishing truth. But what we're doing here is confirming notability of the topic. No, whether or not the topic is actually true also matters, especially when it deals with something as sensitive as racial superiority, which is a debunked pseudoscience. You fucking idiot. It is not. That is an argument from analogy fallacy. When you're trying to compare it to all these other articles where those rules would fit, but that you're not invoking the spirit of the rules. There's every indication of being improperly formed and a bad faith nomination. Yeah, more like bad faith support. As you can see, the number of people who actually voted here is quite a bit less than before because these are the people who maintain the article. And that's why they're all saying keep. And no one else, people had forgotten about the article and moved on to other things, and Wikipedia has declined in popularity since then. Um, so the conversation about how this is such a bad article, like basically the racial supremacists, the Jewish supremacists, took over and now dominate discussions about whether or not this article should even exist, and they keep it because it furthers their agenda, which is closely tied to Zionism, which is another subject that we should talk about another time. So yeah, you might be wondering if I ever participated in any of these discussions in the past. I used to edit Wikipedia. certainly I did. But as you can see, they just get gangs of thugs to basically bully other people and push their own agendas. And anyone who doesn't like have friends on Wikipedia, um, their voices get drowned out uh, by racists, by literal racists like this who use pseudoscience to maintain the existence of fake pseudoscientific articles like Ashkenazi Jewish intelligence. How disgraceful. Anyway, yeah, we might do more of these. I might point out other bad Wikipedia articles and, encourage people to uh, try to get these articles deleted. Do what you can, make accounts, make good arguments, and try to get them deleted because this garbage should not exist. Have a nice day.